Hello everyone, welcome to Midwest Coaster Fans, and before we continue with this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and like button as it helps more people be able to view this video and many videos later. Help us get to 2,000 subscribers and beyond. We're having a big giveaway after that. And for many of you that have followed us over the last 2 years, welcome back again. Please be sure to share this video if you get a chance as well, because we're going to go over many things in this video dealing with Rip Ride Rockit and why I believe Rip Ride Rockit should be ripped and removed from Universal Studios Orlando. I'll list the pros and cons of the coaster and the reasons why I think this should happen. And I know many of you might agree and some of you might disagree. I know Zach from our team likes this coaster, but he hasn't ridden it in years, so I know he might disagree with this video as well, but that's quite all right. Now, many of you guys know Rip Ride Rockit if you've been to Universal Studios Orlando. It sits on the skyline. Before you enter the park, you see the actual coaster, and it was built by Mora Rides. The coaster was actually over budget. I think it was not designed correctly, and I'll go over that as well. And it's one of the most hated coasters in Orlando, if not the most hated coaster in Orlando. And the reason for that has to do with the roughness of the coaster and the fact of the design and many other things. Now, before you board the coaster, you have to put your phone away or any type of electronics or loose articles in a locker. Luckily, the locker is free, so that's a pro. Then you have to stand in the line, which the line usually isn't long, unless you're talking about there being special events at Universal Studios Orlando or other things going on. Then, of course, yes, you might experience longer lines. But most of the time, if you go there during the week when it's not a busy, which 2021 is not a good example of this, but let's just say last year, for example, before the pandemic, I went to the park many times during the week, and Rip Ride Rockit did not ever have a line unless you're talking about after Mardi Gras, the Mardi Gras parade happened or any other special event things happened, then yes, it would, develop a line. But for the most part, this coaster never has a line at all. And there's a reason for that. I think Woody Woodpecker Coaster over in the kids zone is a better coaster than Rip Ride Rockit. And, that's saying a lot when you're saying that a kiddie coaster is better than an actual real coaster. But the thing is, this coaster does have good seating. This coaster does have good, off-ride visuals. However, it lacks in many different areas. Because you have a ride where the track's not only rough, you hit multiple mid-course brake runs, which if you've ridden the ride, you kind of start enjoying the ride, then you hit a brake, mid-course brake, then you drop again and you hit another mid-course brake. It's a lackluster coaster. To me, it's not a fun ride experience. The soundtrack is the only thing that keeps this coaster alive. And you could take the soundtracks, or the idea of being able to choose your own soundtracks, and you could actually turn around and add it to B&M Hypercoaster. The reason I say a B&M Hypercoaster is because they are capacity monsters. The only thing the park would have to change is adding those blinking red lights on the top, because obviously, for aircraft. It's another reason why Disney, if you have ever noticed, Disney will not go over a certain amount of feet, over 200 feet, only because if they do, they have to put a blinking light, so it ruins the theming. However, for a coaster like Universal Studios Orlando is going to add, a hyper coaster is not going to ruin anything, and it would be really hard to spot anyways. I think Mora Rides was a wrong designer for this coaster, and I think when they were thinking of this design, they needed a compact coaster. They needed to go through a variety of different elements, but they also needed a coaster that they could just continuously load. And what happens is the mid-course brake runs allow them to do that. However, you could have a company like B&M come in and design a better coaster experience. People would love the ride. It would be a capacity monster. It would be a popular coaster. And you wouldn't have as many negative reviews on it. I don't think Universal Studios is going to spend the money on this, especially since they've already decided to build Epic Universe. So I don't foresee them ripping and removing this coaster from Universal Studios Orlando, at least for a few more years. So unfortunately, we got to deal with the roughness of the track. We got to deal with a variety of different other things. Dealing with Rip Ride Rockit. Now, I've ridden this many times, and that's why I have this negative experience. When I go onto a coaster and I walk off the coaster with a migraine headache, and I have to take migraine Excedrin pills, or even, ibuprofen, just to be able to go on some other ride again, because I've got such a sweltering headache, that says a lot. Now, like I said, there are a few people that love Rip Ride Rockit that don't want it to be removed because of the soundtracks. Like I said, though, you could take those soundtracks, you could apply them to another coaster, add to a whole nother ride experience, and the public would love the coaster. Roller coaster enthusiasts would love the coaster. I'll be honest, now that I go to Universal Studios and I'm there a lot, I avoid this coaster. I would rather go to, like I said, Woody Woodpecker's coaster over in Kids Zone than ride this coaster. And there's other two good coasters. You have Escape from Gringotts, you have the Mummy, the ride, and I would rather ride those three coasters instead of riding Rip Ride Rockit. Now, Rip Ride Rockit, like I said, I don't know what happened in the design process. If they were like, you know what, we're sick of waiting on a better design to come out. Yeah, just go ahead and build it. We need something. We need something that's going to define Universal Studios Orlando, that will help with the crowds. It's not a screen-based ride. However, come on. Many of you guys have ridden it. Understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into the huge specifics of it. But I think Universal Studios Orlando has this on the chopping block. They have to have this coaster on the chopping block. You can't continuously operate at a ride or experience that doesn't have the crowds going to the actual coaster. You're wasting a crew, you're wasting your time, and basically you've already made your money off this coaster. It's time to build something that's going to redefine Universal Studios Orlando. Because let's be honest, Universal Studios Orlando, unlike Islands of Adventure, lacks in a lot of different areas. You have a lot of failures, such as Jimmy Fallon the Ride. You have Rip Ride Rockit. And the third failure in this park would be Fast and the Furious. I think we're going to see a huge overhaul of Universal Studios Orlando eventually. It's probably not going to happen until after Epic Universe is done. I think the reason why they're going to do Epic Universe, it allows people to concentrate on a second park, like a third park, obviously, but if they decided to completely overhaul completely Universal Studios Orlando, I think this would allow them to be able to do that, because what's happening is you have another huge park, so people could go to Islands of Adventure, they could go to Epic Universe, and then they could start focusing more on Universal Studios Orlando without affecting crowd levels. So I think this complete overhaul is going to happen, like I said, in the next few years. Now, a lot of rides are going to remain there, but I think they're going to be overhauling the screen rides, creating better experiences. I think you see the addition of different coasters, a different coaster, which I think is going to be a hyper coaster designed by B&M, because you can kind of keep the same layout using the old building that used to house Ghostbusters and stuff like that. And it's still going to go in and out of the New York section of the park. But at the same time, like I said, it's going to add a better ride experience for those that want to actually go on a coaster that's enjoyable. And then it also helps them compete better with Mako over SeaWorld Orlando. So there's a lot of different pros and cons to this. And I don't know if you guys agree with me. Please comment below. Let me know if you think this coaster should be ripped and removed from Universal Studios Orlando. I know this is kind of a subject matter that many people that might be huge fans of Universal Studios Orlando might disagree, but it's not going to ruin it if you put in a better coaster. And I think Universal's already headed that way with, the addition of Hagrid's and Velocicoaster. They have Incredible Hulk, and Islands Adventure just has a great coaster lineup. And I think Universal Studios Orlando, while it's supposed to be a movie experience more in that park than an adventure experience, they still need to figure out ways to keep the attendance up and keep wanting to come back for more. And I think this allows them to do that by removing and adding a better ride experience and coaster experience over in this section of Universal Studios Orlando. Like I said, I don't think this is going to happen for a few more years because they have Epic Universe going on, but I think we see a complete overhaul of Universal Studios Orlando. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. comment below. Please hit that like button if you haven't done so yet, and subscribe to Midwest Coaster Fans for future videos that'll drop down in the future. This is Chris and Midwest Coaster Fans signing off. Until next time, thanks again for watching.